Okay, this is Team Jack, and this is our Century Square quadruple net value presentation. So, little introduction to us. The address to Century Square, which is an urban mixed use destination that features a lot of retail stores, bars, and eateries, as well as a movie theater and some hotels, is located in 175 Century Square Drive, College Station, Texas, 77840. Put it in your calendars or something. Uh, so the goal of this project is to use quadruple net value analysis to evaluate Century Square and help invite people to look at the properties from a different perspective. So in this project, basically what quadruple net value analysis is, it's when you combine the triple bottom line of sustainable development, which involves the economic, environmental, and social sustainability of a development. You combine that with the sensory value that measures the appeal of something from your senses, such as sight, sound, touch, and taste, and smell. Uh, Doing this with me is my team. We have Kayla and Kyle. They worked on the environmental aspects of the project. We had Alyssa and Gerardo, who worked on the social and cultural impacts of this project. Then we had Drew and Cole, who did the economic analysis. Then finally, we had Jerry and Ramel, who did the sensory evaluation.
This is Gerardo, and I will be speaking about the social and cultural aspect. So, a little bit about the safety and security. It's controlled by UPD, and they have officers overnight. It also is well lit overnight. There are 1,000 plus parking spaces in the garage parking that is now free. There's also more pay to park locations. Since it has opened, they've opened an Orange Theory for fitness and multiple fitness events held on the green, such as yoga and Pilates. It ranges on the month, but there are different multiple events that happen as well, such as live concerts.
This is Alyssa, and I worked on social and cultural with Gerardo. And the 100 Park is a multi-family complex with 250 units, and there are about 879 units within a 5-minute walk, and then 1,200 units within a 10-minute walk. And there are 17 various restaurants, including different cafes and dessert shops, such as Hop Dotties, Mess, and then there's also a movie theater on Century Square. And it is a great place to live, eat, go to the movies, work out, and hang out with your friends. And then for some history, the George Hotel is named after George H.W. Bush, and there are 9 different art pieces inside the hotel. And then that picture on the right is a Texas flag made out of books that is actually dedicated to Barbara Bush.
Howdy, I'm Cole, and I did the property values the economic portion with Drew. The property values, we focused on the taxable value of the property before and after development. Before development, all the parcels located on that CAD picture right there were $0 because they weren't there. After the development, all those parcels, which include places like the George Hotel, Cavalry Court, Hop Dotty, Blaze, Orange Fitness, that parking garage area, and the other apartment complexes, their taxable property values were worth $111 million. The taxable values of the adjacent parcels before and after development include the Culpepper family buildings, which are a little farther down the street, and you have North Point Crossing as well, which are worth $2.5 million before the development of Century Square, and then after they're worth $3.4 million. And then the taxable value of the property within 5 minutes walking distance is the same as the North Point Crossing and Culpepper family developments. the revenues, especially the tourism money generated on an annual basis. We were unable to get the actual numbers for that, but we can also assume that Century Square's tourism numbers are extremely high due to the number of people who come into College Station for A&M football games, basketball, baseball games, and meetings, and whatever reason they have to be in town. The Century Square residency living, they had a gross monthly rent of $313,000 with an 86% occupancy rate and a 14% vacancy rate. The office spaces, around the time that this was developed, they had 0% occupancy and rent was $23 per square foot. At the same exact time, the retail and rent spaces were 60% occupancy and rent was around $32 to $36 per square foot. The conceptualization and design values, the fees for planning and conceptual design of the project were $8 per square foot. So today, with over 720,000 square feet, you multiply that by $8 and you get 5.7 million. The fees for the overall design were the exact same as the planning and conceptual design. So you have $8 times 720,600 square feet. You get the same exact number.
My name is Drew Orner. I also covered part of the economic section of the presentation. So the economic construction value of Century Square created 350 construction worker jobs and 100 million in overall construction value. In addition, 15 jobs were created for the maintenance and operation of Century Square on an annual basis. However, this is not including the tenants in development, so potentially hundreds of more jobs were in the works from development companies. The economic real estate market value for Century Square is $123,612,619 with a land improvement value of $0 and the original value at $42,259,793. The investments adjacent to Century Square had 0 in land improvements for North Point and 190,287 in land improvements for Culpeper.
Okay, so my name is Kyle, and I covered part of the environmental part of Century Square. So about 4% of Century Square is open green space, and that green space majority of it is going to be artificial turf, which can be seen in that little central courtyard area. There are 40 different types of plants throughout Century Square. There's 150 new trees and 12 live oaks, all of these which require less maintenance and irrigation. So there are currently no environmental certificates, and there also aren't any environmental education programs or organizations involved with the project itself. The Master of Land and Property Development program does work with the site itself, and the project is also maintained by a maintenance crew. As of air quality impact, it would cost over $77 million to offset the amount of carbon emissions by the project site, and the heat island impact was reduced after the project as well. For energy conservation, there are no energy saving programs, but there are alternatives, which include the HVAC systems with MERV filters. There also are cool roofs throughout Century Square that reduce energy consumption costs.
Okay, I'm Kayla, and I helped Kyle cover the environmental element of Century Square. And we found that in regards to stormwater management, 96% of Century Square is impermeable surfaces. But from what we can tell, they don't have a problem with runoff because it's near drainage areas and the water usually runs off into the A&M polo fields. And like Kyle said, they use cool roofs, which help reflect light and heat off of them and just keep the areas around them cooler. And also they're able to use less energy through their cool roofs. And they do use drip systems in gutters that allow stormwater runoff to drip directly into the flower beds so that they can use less water. And they chose to use artificial turf and specific plant species that do not require excessive irrigation so that they can limit their use of water. And again, another way that they prevent the use of excessive watering is through the way that they design their roofs in Century Square so that the water from the storms can drip into the flower beds. But the water doesn't, or not every plant has access to the water from the runoffs. And for those plants, they are able to use a sprinkler system just a couple times a week to kind of keep those alive.
Howdy, this is Jerry Garcia and work on the sensory value portion of the project at Romel. A little about the sensory value of a project is that it is comprised of the visual impact, smell, touch, sound, and taste of a development. This aspect of development is critical because it is a direct experience of people interacting with the site. As for the visual impact, it's usually the first sensory element noticed because people expect an attractive site, and Sensory Square definitely achieves this goal, especially because it is the only mixed development in College Station. Century Square hosts restaurants, hotels, cinemas, and bars. It also has iconic and artistic elements such as the water fountain, Aguilan mural, Texas flag at George Hotel, and some landscaping such as trees, shrubs, bushes, and ground covers. The sound of Century Square is lively because restaurants are constantly playing outdoor music. In addition, there are numerous public activities and events year-round, such as yoga classes and Sunday Night Live. And the 2 acres of activated public space eases this interaction between the people to interact.
Hello, this is Romel Fernandez speaking. I worked on the sensory value along with George Garcia. And in this last slide, we have the last 3 physical senses. We have taste, smell, and touch. When it comes to restaurants, there's a total of 18 food vendors at the project. The proximity to negative odoriferous facilities, we have the big dumpster 5.6 miles away and the Twin Oaks landfill 8.8 miles away. There are also different textures in paving in the development, such as turf, concrete, and brick. And the development also includes 8 sitting areas. 5 of them are shaded, and the most popular being shown in the bottom right picture, where there is great community engagement.
So, in conclusion, through using Q&V analysis, our group is able to look at the different environmental, economic, social, and sensory aspects that make Century Square the development that it is today. The social environment is inviting. It does stimulate the senses, and it being one of the only being the only multi-use development in College Station right now really helps it. It is a place for everyone. They try to make it a place where you want to come eat, where you want to come hang out, where you want to study, all that kind of stuff. In an economic sense, all places of the business are suitable to change due to the current pandemic. While on paper right now, they are currently running at a 60% occupancy rate with the store. We could see that going down. While attempting to use greenery, it still lacks a very natural feel, as some of it is still artificial. Some people like the turf, like myself, and there's others that don't. This also hinders the overall sensory impact that the average visitor has. While being very nice to see and everything, it still struggles with the sound. It is a great start and could, with some improvements, could really shine. Some recommendations that we would offer would be to have more college interaction or more events that are suitable for college kids. There are concerts and stuff, but they're not really planned. They're not really reached out upon. They're happening that day, and if you end up at Century Square that day, you get a concert. but you don't really know. Another thing is we would like to see more trees. We do recognize that they already do have an irrigation problem. They don't have an irrigation problem themselves, but sending it off to the polo fields isn't going to be always the best answer, even if it is owned by Texas A&M. And then another thing that hurts a lot of people and definitely limits my and some of my team members' reasons for going is the price of parking. Although Sunday is free, if it was cheaper, it would make it a lot better. Overall, Century Square is a great place to be if you want to hang out, grab a drink or something, but it could be improved on. And I would really like to thank everyone for listening to us, and yeah, I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.
Howdy, my name is Drew Ordner. I was responsible for part of the economics section of our presentation, specifically the section dealing with the construction value, operations and management value, real estate transactions, and investments adjacent to the property of Century Square. A lot of the numbers and data that I collected were from the Brazos CAD County website. Any pictures or any other numbers outside of that resource, I also referenced in the reference page of our presentation. Any answers or numbers that I struggled to get, I just used the field notes and conclusion from the quadruple net value from the fall 2017 example. I also referenced that on the references page. That pretty much sums up what I did with the inclusion of this individual vlog. Thanks and gigum.
Hi, so I worked on the environment of Century Square, and I worked with Kayla, and we both collaborated really well together on this part. We went to Century Square together, and we observed kind of the green space of the area and how much green space takes up Century Square, and we also observed the types of plants and trees throughout the area. We were also able to personally see the walkability of the area and how people are traveling throughout the area, whether it be by car or bike or walking. We also were using the examples that Booth had given us to finish off the rest of the assignment that we had questions about and weren't really too sure about. And then for the presentation, we both collaborated together once again, and we kind of just went into more detail about all the different aspects throughout assignment 2 and what was important about the environment and what we kind of discovered. And we both came into a conclusion about the environment of Century Square in general. So
I'm on Team Jack, and my partner through this was Kyle Coleman. We focused on the environmental elements of Century Square, and most of our research was done through just our observations and Google searches, along with the examples that Dr. Booth had given us. And we were able to focus on the green space and the plant materials used in Century Square, along with stormwater management and energy conservation. And we were able to use Zoom with our entire team to figure out how exactly we wanted to record our presentation and what we wanted included, just so we could all kind of meet together and discuss the requirements.
Hello, my name is Romel Fernandez. In this short video, I'll be talking about my contribution to assignment 3 for Team Jack. My team member, Gerardo Garcia, and we are in charge of the sensory value for the quadruple net value. So him and I got together one day after class. We went to the site, we completed the questions for assignment 2, did some additional research, and then we used all that as a reference to complete our portion of the presentation for assignment 3. Additionally, as a group, we kept in constant communication in the group meet, and we also have a Google Drive in which we all work on the presentation, and we also had a Zoom meeting call while we coordinated the recording of the presentation itself.
Howdy. So as a part of Team Jack, I was tasked with finding the economic portion of this project with Drew. I focused mainly on gathering information on the property values, the revenues, and the conceptualization and design values of Century Square. For the property values, I focused on the taxable value of the property before and after development, at least what I could find and research. I also found the taxable value of adjacent parcels from the AutoCAD before and after development, and also the taxable value of properties within 5 minutes of walking distance. For the revenues, I focused on the tourism dollars that were generated on an annual basis. Unfortunately, we couldn't gather all those numbers, so just kind of made an assumption on how things were looking going forward and kind of what ramps their tourism numbers up. I focused on the occupancy, sales, rates, and rents before and after development of all of the adjacent properties, nearby properties, everything on Century Square. And then I also looked up the conceptualization and design values, so the fees for planning and the conceptual design of the project, as well as the fees for the overall design of the project. And so just gathered all that data and put it together, and Drew focused on the other half of it. So thanks again.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Wilson, and Gerardo Castro and I worked on the social and cultural aspect of Century Square. So first we took a look at the safety and security of the area, and then also the public access and connectivity. And then we also took a look at the health, education, and public visualization and involvement. And then also the residential proximity, public art, history, and then lastly, we looked at the pedestrian comfort of the area.
Howdy, this is Jared Garcia, a student Professor Booth's URPN 330, Section 900, Land Development 1 course. This video is a reflection of the process we took to overcome this project. After we were grouped into teams of 9, including a team leader, and visiting the site as a class, our group split up into pairs to take on a role for the quadruple net value portion of the project. Romel and I then decided to take on the sensory value of the project, and our process for collecting the data was visiting the site together and individually to get different perspectives of the site, researching online, and making phone calls to Century Square personnel to gather information. One of the main reflections I had was that had we had more time to research around the site, our data would have definitely been enriched. However, with that being said, focusing on the most important feature of the site should be the first thing you should do. Nonetheless, Century Square is a great mixed-use development, especially since it's located in College Station, where there aren't any developments as such. Thank you.
Howdy, my name's Gerardo Castro. We visited Century Square and analyzed it. Alyssa and I did the social and cultural part, which we got a better understanding of how to really talk about the subject and write about it in our assignments. And we got a better understanding of the safety, the historical background, how many restaurants there are, what Century Square is all about, a better QNV, and how to determine it. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I guess this is my first vlog. Probably be my only one. I really don't like filming myself. But today we just concluded our first Zoom meeting for assignment 3. I felt we got a lot of stuff done. We had a lot of confusion about how the group or what needs to be done by each person in regards to the conclusion slide. They all thought they had to make their own conclusion and then added the slide, and I was like, man, I think that would make the thing too long. And then everyone kind of agreed. But other than that, I've been doing morale checks, which have been fun. People seem to like them.
I'm kind of hoping to get it done by early Wednesday night so that Thursday night's not a rush. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So, but yeah, I have faith in my team, and I have faith in myself as a leader. But Century Square is dope.